Wow, Weapons is one of the most unique, absorbing, surprising, and cringe-inducing horror movies I've seen in a long time, with multiple things I love in movies, some that are even more rare and special in the horror genre. I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. The synopsis on IMDb for Weapons reads, "When all but one child from the same class mysteriously vanish on the same night at exactly the same time, a community is left questioning who or what is behind their disappearance." Now, I'm going to try and talk about what type of movie this is because I really want to preserve the discovery of the experience, and even some of what type of movie it is for viewers. This is something that is just totally worth watching the trailer, seeing if you kind of like the vibe. Maybe watch two trailers, because honestly, when I saw one trailer, I was like, okay, looks like something with creepy kids. That can be really hit or miss for me because child actors, their performances just often don't work for me. And so if it's really depending on them to be good performers, that often is not going to work for me. But then I saw a second trailer that showed some other elements of the movie. It's like, oh, wait a second. This is maybe not what I thought it was. It's maybe got some other things going on. Indeed, it does. And I'm so glad. It has a lot of strong elements. Okay, it's very character-focused, which is something I always love and appreciate. The story of the children's disappearance and the aftermath of that is told one perspective at a time in sort of chapters that are labeled with characters' names. And it really fleshes out this ensemble cast of fascinating, flawed, quirky, and nuanced characters. When they do stupid things in this horror movie, it felt to me understandable given the quirks and flaws of who they are, rather than in most horror movies where it just feels frustratingly inconsistent and nonsensical behavior on the protagonist's part. It leans heavily into their stories for a lot of this movie, and in some ways feels just as much like a drama as a horror movie. But when the horror shows up, and it does repeatedly throughout, so it doesn't feel like, oh, where's the horror? I mean, if you just want horror beginning to end, and you don't really care about character-driven storytelling as a value, well, then maybe you will feel like, some of this is just too much of their story and what's going on in their life and stuff like that. But for me, making me care about the characters and really invest in them is what makes their predicaments actually more tense, because I'm invested in what's going to happen to them. Are they going to survive? Are the things that they care about, are they going to be able to live to pursue those things or whatever, you know? So when the horror shows up, though, it's disturbing, along with the nature of violence in this movie in general. There's just some violence that happens that's not part of like a horror scene per se, that's like, ugh, it's cringy because of the type of injury or violence that's happening. Injuries and attacks happen in this movie that had me nearly tense up into a ball in the theater. Very often, though, it's more unsettling rather than gore heavy, though it does have some spikes of major gore. There are also touches of humor here and there, but they're pretty subtle, I think, and seem they're like a welcome alternative flavor that's rarely used. And so I think that they're really in the place where I want them to be in this movie. I don't look at this and think of it as defined by its horror, like a James Gunn movie like Slither or something like that. The nature of the horror, I thought that it was going to be utterly unknowable Lovecraftian style, that we just never get an explanation for. It's just like creepy because of how unknown it is. Well, it's still unknowable in some ways by the end, but the evil is gradually revealed. And so there's a lot of the movie where it does feel like just utterly unknowable and creepy and what the crap, you know. But the nature of the evil is gradually revealed. In some ways it reminds me of a monster movie formula, but this isn't a monster movie, but it just uses that gradual revelation of what's going on, what the evil is. And I love that journey of discovery. And this movie was not what I thought it would be. And what was behind the evil and stuff, not what I thought it would be. And being surprised, it felt so good. And being in the dark kept me on edge. By the end, I was so satisfied with the precious and unique combo of drama, character focus, disturbing horror, and some gutsy choices in some of the violence. This animal was just so unique, and I loved it. As far as the cast goes, they really hired actors that are known for acting. Julia Garner plays the emotionally dysfunctional school teacher struggling with the blame of the community because they think she must be responsible for this. Josh Brolin is like this not great dad of a not great kid, but who loves him so fiercely he's driven nonstop to find him. Alden Ehrenreich, who played Han Solo in that Solo movie, and he was, I guess he was in Ironheart. I've seen him in one or two other things too, and he always like pulls me in as a performer, and certainly that was true here. I just loved seeing him in this role. He's a not so great cop with ties to other characters that make his life just broken and complicated. Austin Abrams may be a name that you don't know, and I had to look that up. I've seen him in some stuff. I'm not quite sure. I think he was more of a child actor the last couple times I saw him, but verging on teenager. But now he's more of like a young adult, and he plays this street junkie and thief who gets mixed up with the other characters and with events that he did not bargain for. Benedict Wong, of course, from the MCU, Doctor Strange. He plays the principal of the school and has at least one scene like nothing I would expect from him. These performances, they're relatable, they're intense, they're sometimes even shocking. It was a major strength of the movie for me. As far as the stunts, the visuals, if there is some CG in this movie, but it's very subtle. And it's not, I'm not going to say anymore. It's subtle. The movie feels very grounded and practical, even if it's in its most creepy and gory moments. And that made things feel all the more visceral to me. So I was very happy with the grounded approach, even when visually things were getting a bit outlandish. As far as themes, is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on in the themes of this thing that could trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation? I'm going to dance around this a little bit. There is some dark thematic stuff that's tied to real world evils that might make some Christians uncomfortable, so know that going in. I can't say more without spoiling things. In some ways, I think that it taps into our subconscious fear of mortality, of mental health issues like dementia, which make people behave strangely or as though they don't know you anymore. It's a similar kind of part of our subconscious that I think effective zombie movies tap into, where someone that you know and love suddenly is like a different person and very dangerous, or just acting very strange and kind of creepy, stuff like that. So it has things like that going on that I think in this movie, more than many others that do something similar, tap into that primal fear and leverage it. But I think that that's really what it's doing, more than that being leveraged to be part of a message or a moral. It doesn't seem interested in messages, just in making viewers creeped out to have a good time. All right, no idea what your tastes are in movies, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Peter, skip this one and buy it as soon as it comes to home video. It's so unique and special. It's in that category of movies you want to own and start asking people, dude, have you seen Weapons? No? Okay, dude, come to my house. Let's watch this together so that you can have them over, watch them squirm, watch their jaws drop like yours did. Your son Titus is going to like this one. So yeah, definitely going to be in my collection ASAP. And this one's rated R for strong bloody violence and grisly images, language throughout, some sexual content, and drug use. And those are all of my thoughts for now on Weapons. Right now, I'd like to take some time to write a tune for pre-made rhyme. The lyrics kind of never change, but the melody gets rearranged. I never know what I'll create to say how much I appreciate Dan Excel, Gabriel Stinson, Olin D. Branham, Winston Crutchfield, Lee Bray, Joel Nelson, Jake Bear, John Wilkerson, and Daryl Nawu. Thank you for supporting me and SBP and CGC. And now to all who hear this tune, thank you as well. Please come back soon. Want to hear your name and song? Check out our page on Patreon. All right. As always, I'd love to get your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that bell to stay connected. I do want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. You can get info about the benefits of joining at patreon.com/Spirit Productions. Then I hope you'll check out our podcast and stay connected to all CGC content over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. For more chat about geek entertainment, answers to your questions, and news from the wider world of Christian geekery, get the Christian Geek Central podcast today on iTunes and other podcast services.